If you would have told me that I'd be talking to you one day, I would have thought you were a liar. I'm such a fan. You have just such a glorious career in so many facets of this industry. Just thank you for coming. I'm very excited that you're here. Is it true that I find this funny? So this book is for people who don't like poetry?
Uh-huh.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, it happened one day when I was working out with my trainer, and I said I wanted to recite a poem to her. And I said, "Do you read poetry?" And she went, "No." Like that. I thought, "Oh,
scoffed, yeah.
Dear, what is that?" So when we went upstairs for massage, I read her a Mary Oliver poem. And she said, "Oh, that's not sappy." And I thought, oh, she thinks poetry is roses are red, violets are blue.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, that's really too bad. So I introduced her to poetry, and she said, "Oh, I really like this."
Yeah.
So that put a thought in my head that maybe other people there are in the world who would like to be introduced poetry the way I know it and understand it and the way it's affected me. So somebody said, "Well, why don't you write a book about poetry?" And I went, ding, okay. Yeah. So that's what I did.
How did you choose? Because it's such a specific thing too. Like I bet once she found, your trainer, once she finds, poets that really touch her, then she leans more in. Like, how did you choose which poems to put to you?
I did it sort of autobiographically. I remembered the first poem that really touched me deeply when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And the end of the poem is, the last words are, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." And I went, yes.
Yeah.
My life doesn't always have to be like this, which wasn't so hot.
Yeah.
I am the master of my fate.
You choose. You decide.
I can do what I want with my life. And it moved me so much that I started paying attention to other poets and poetry in general. And I've just found it a very rich source of wisdom and fun and understanding and ideas. And it's just really fed me spiritually and intellectually and every other way in my life.
Which, hell yeah. Anything that can feed you spiritually, I'm down. I choose that. So besides reading poetry, you do something that I love. My friend actually introduced this to me. She was like, instead of all the gifts, why don't you do experiences, like with the kids or like with your family? And you do that. You're big on that, right? Like,
yeah, I read one time that said, don't waste your money on buying things, buy experiences.
It's brilliant.
My favorite one of those experiences was I went with this spiritual group to Egypt, and it was the end of 1983.
Yeah.
And I decided New Year's Eve, and 1984 is coming up, and that's the future. Why don't I greet it from the top of the pyramid? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So I found a guide, and I went at night, and he helped climb with me up to the top. And I was very surprised when I got up there. I thought it would be empty, but it was full of people with cameras and tripods and everything. Yeah. And then I sat on the edge of it and waited, facing where the sun was going to rise. And the most remarkable thing happened. All the dogs all the way around were barking. And then all of a sudden they stopped. And then all the horses started whinnying.
Yeah.
And they did that for a while. And then they stopped. And then the camels went. And they took turns all the way around. The whole breed of whatever it was would all make their sounds at the same time. And then finally, just as we were getting to sunrise, it stopped. There was a moment of silence, and then cock-a-doodle-doo. And the sun came up over the Great Pyramid of Egypt.
Yeah.
Now that's an experience.
Oh, that's incredible. I know that this called Poetry Says It Better, Poems to Help You Wake Up. So you include your favorite poems in your book, and one is When Death Comes by Mary Oliver, who you love. And it goes, I hope I don't mess this up for you. I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? So why does that one move you so? I love it.
Yeah.
I think it sounds more hopeful and less scary about death, and I think people are afraid to talk about death a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we do talk about death.
Yeah.
And that we prepare for it and know what we're, going to face.
Yeah.
Because when the moment comes, it's no time then to say, gee, I should have learned how you do this.
Yeah.
Shoulda, coulda,
woulda,
when
yeah.
I say learn how to do it, how to mentally enter into that state. So people who have learned to meditate can do it better than people who are just like, oh my God, here it is.
I might be the latter. I need to meditate. I love the full of curiosity, though, because I think people see it as an ending, and you don't know. Could be a whole beginning. You know what I'm saying? You just don't know.
Well, there's been a lot of studies about people who have temporarily died and then brought back to life, and they describe a whole process of going through a tunnel of light and, being met by people and then it being reversed. I did a movie about it years ago called Resurrection, where we show that, actually. And, there's been a lot of studies recently where I've been reading, it seems like there's a process when you die. And there are various stages of it, and the brain stays aware for a while. So I'm looking forward to being able to navigate that and be curious about that cottage of darkness, as Mary Oliver says.
It's so beautifully put.
I don't mean it too soon, by the way.
I can wait a little bit.
I still have another book to write.
I love it. But you won an Oscar for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Well done. It's so great. I did not know this. You had to fight for a different ending, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, did.
She, all the way through, I don't know if you've seen this movie, it was some time ago, you probably hadn't been born yet.
We've seen it, yeah.
She had a dream to go to Monterey, I think. And she was trying to get there. She was hitchhiking with her kid across the country, and she has a relationship with the Chris Christopherson character, who has a ranch nearby. And by the end of the film, there was we got into, was I going on to Monterey or was I going to stay with the guy? And I had her going on to Monterey because Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore was like the first film told from a woman's point of view. So I didn't want her to give up her dream and, end up in a happy marriage with the guy. I wanted her to go on.
You wanted her to give up her dreams,
Yeah. And the head of the studio, John Kelly, said, no, she has to go on with the guy. And we kept rewriting it so that it would justify her staying. And he kept insisting, no, she has to go on with the guy. And I said, but John, if she and I started to argue my point, and he said, let me put it this way. If she doesn't end up with the guy, we're not making the film. Oh. I see. What do we do about that? So we were shooting the film and we had no ending. We kept trying to figure out how we were going to satisfy John Kelly and ourselves. And finally, it was the day before we were going to shoot the end of this scene. And Marty Scorsese was the director. And he had this wonderful way of, at the end of the day, the actors rehearsing the next day's work. And we could improvise. It didn't have to be exactly as written. So we go into the scene, this last scene that we have to come up with the ending, and all of a sudden Chris Christopherson says, come on, I'll take you to Monterey. I said, you will? He said, yeah, I don't give a damn about that ranch, I'll sell it. And so we had the end of the scene. We we ended up, the guy took me and followed my dream, and he came along.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the movie.
Which is so crazy, because that's like one of the most loved parts of the film.
Well, you see, at that time when we made the film, every movie made was told from the man's point of view.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I had shot The Exorcist, and John Kelly was looking, who was the head of Warner Brothers, was looking at the dailies every day. And he called my agent and he said, we want to do another movie with this girl. So they started sending me the scripts that they had with a female part in them. And all of the parts were like, the man goes out to save the world, and his wife stays home to make him a cup of tea when he returns.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. The physical comedy is great.
I just wasn't excited about that.
Yeah.
You know, that plot. You
Yeah.
know. So we kept trying to come up with something.
Yeah.
That was from a woman's point of view. And we finally found this script that was a standard love affair. And I wanted it to be a woman's point of view. I wanted to make a film like a woman, like my friends, like we were all facing at the time. It was just the beginning of the women's movement. Mm-hmm. And nobody heard of doing a film from a woman's point of view. You know, so it took a lot of adjusting.
Yeah.
Along the way. And it turned out that it was a man who came up with the idea that he'd go along with us. And
Yeah.
And that was the new woman's point of view.
So technically, from a man. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm such a big fan. It's such an honor to have you here. You're incredible. Everybody give it up for Ellen Burstyn. Her book is called Poetry Says It Better, Poems to Help You Wake Up. You can find it wherever books are sold.